Alright, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Mechanicus, or Admech, and we're going to do a little army review and maybe some tactics video. So please hit the like and subscribe button if you like this sort of content and let us know. So let's just jump right in. So the Adeptus Mechanicus is a faction of the Imperium. They're actually their own separate faction. They have an alliance with the Imperium of Man that was actually founded by the God Emperor during the time before the Horus Heresy. Now the Admech are very religious and they believe in their own god called the Omnissiah. Well, Omnissiah, some believe, is the Emperor himself. Although there are some factions that believe in the dragon as well, which also is assumed to be the Emperor of Mankind. So the Adeptus Mechanicus very much pride themselves on technology and the acquisition of that technology, especially those lost CTS drives. So they will do what they can to recover them. Now in battle, the Adeptus Mechanicus usually uses overwhelming firepower in the form of their advanced technology, whether that be their arc rifles, torsion cannons, or other various radium carbines, their use of old and new technology. The Mechanicus is usually also fighting alongside warlords or the Legio, whether that be the Knights or Warlord Titans, Warhounds. They're usually very much together in most battlefield combat scenarios. Occasionally they will work with other units of the Imperium like the Astra Militarum or Space Marines or Adeptus Astartes. Now on the tabletop, the Admech have a very wide range of units. They most recently got their new Codex and added even more units to the list. So let's first talk about the overall Forge worlds that you can get. So some of the most popular Forge worlds in the book are Mars. With this dogma, Scutari units with this dogma will gain the Canticles of the Omnissiah ability, and each time a unit with this dogma is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll one hit roll when resolving that unit's attacks. It comes with its own Warlord trait. You can use it in your command phase, and you can select one Mars Cult Mechanicus core unit within 6 inches of your Warlord, and if you do so, select one Canticle. And this can be applied, this can be one that has already been active for your army. Until the start of your next command phase, both the Warlord and that unit benefit from the selected canticle instead of the one that is active for your army. It also comes with its own relic, the Red Axe, which it's a model equipped with the Omnissiah Axe only, but it gives you +2 strength, -5 AP, and a flat 2 damage. Also, the bearer makes 3 additional attacks, so this is very strong if you're running a Tech Priest Dominus or a Tech Priest Engine Seer to save points. This is a good way to beef them up as well. Another good Forge world is the Graia. So their dogma is each time a combat attrition test is taken for the unit with this dogma, it is automatically passed. On top of that, each time a model with this dogma would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, rolling a d6 and a 5+, that wound is not lost. So this is really good if you're going up against Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, or any army that has a lot of spamming ability for mortal wounds. And they're also very tough. They don't run away, so they can kind of stick there as well. For their Warlord trait, in your opponent's charge phase, at the start of the Heroic Intervention step, select one friendly Graia core unit within 9 inches of the Warlord until the end of the phase. If that unit is within 6 inches horizontally and 5 vertically from an enemy unit, it is eligible to perform a Heroic Intervention as if it were a character unit. Each time a model on that unit makes a Heroic Intervention move, it can move up to 6 inches. So this is really good for some more melee focused armies. And for their relic, Graia Tech Priest model only, add 3 inches to the range of the bearer's aura abilities to a maximum of 9 inches. Mechanicus also has custom Forge worlds. Each of these custom Forge worlds has a primary, and then you can choose one secondary. There's usually a list of 3 here. One of my favorites is the Data Horde Forge World. They did change a little bit from the last book, however it's still very powerful. The primary states that each time a vehicle model with this dogma would lose a wound on a 6+, that wound is not lost. So it's really good, especially if you're running your Castellan robots. That makes them even tougher, being able to shrug off those additional wounds. One of their secondaries is the Omnitrek Impellers. So for your Cataphron Servitors and your Doom Crawlers, model with this dogma, they add 2 inches to the move characteristics. Another good one is the Reignited Forge Roll. So the primary here is any unmodified wound rolls of 6 increase the armor penetration by 1. Also, one of the secondaries is Engineered Nanophages. So each time a melee attack is made with this model, with this dogma, and it's allocated to a model with the same characteristics of 3+ or better, the armor penetration characteristics of that attack is improved by 1. So not only are you getting, if you're wounding on a 6, the AP is going up, and then if it's also a 3+ model, it's going up as well. So you could potentially get an additional 2 AP against Space Marines. That's very powerful, especially if you're using certain weapons that already have damage 2 or 3. You have a much better chance to kill them outright. Alright, so some Warlord traits. There's some decent ones in here. Mainly the first one is going to be Masterwork of Bionics. Gives your Warlord a 4+ invulnerable save, and you're subtracting 1 from the damage characteristics of that attack to a minimum of 1 as well. Another good one if you're using a lot of vehicles is the Necromechanic. Each time this Warlord uses its Master of the Machines ability, model being repaired gains up to 3 lost wounds instead of D3, so that's really good. You can have a Dominus and a Tech Priest. Tech Priest just sitting back, guarding your Castellan robots or your Doom Crawlers, and just sitting there replenishing their wounds as well. Alright, so let's move on to some of the units for the Admech. We'll start with HQs. Everybody knows about Belisarius Crawl, so I won't talk about him, but if you want to just take a regular HQ, you can't go wrong with the Tech Priest Dominus. He can be kitted out in various different ways. He comes standard with the Volkite Blaster and the Macro Stubber. However, I do like the Eradication Array. It's basically focused or dissipated. For focused, it's a 12-inch range, heavy D3, strength 6, -3 AP, damage 2 blast. And for the dissipated, it's a 24-inch range, heavy D3, strength 6, -2 AP, 1 damage blast. Also the Phosphorus Serpentina, 8-inch range, assault 1, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage, but each time an attack is made with this weapon, the target does not receive the benefits of dense cover. He also has Master of the Machines, where you're getting lost wounds for your vehicles. He has a 5+ invul save, a 2+ armor save, and also any core units within 6 inches. Each time they make an attack, they can reroll hit rolls of 1. We also have the Tech Priest Engineer, which is a very good basic HQ. He does have the Omniscient Axe, so you could upgrade that with a relic as well. He has a 5+ invulnerable save, 3+ armor save, 4 wounds. He still has Master of Machines as well, and basically he also has Awaken the Machine, where you can select a vehicle other than Castellans, and they add 1 to the attack hit roll. Also, which is really cool, is if your army is already battle forged, and you have a Tech Priest Dominus, you can include a Tech Priest, and it doesn't take up an additional battlefield roll. And then we also have the new Skitarii Marshal. He has a 4+ save, 4 wounds. With him, he has Control Edict. In your command phase, you can select 1 friendly Skitarii unit within 9 inches of this model, or you can select 1 friendly Skitarii Data Tether unit anywhere on the battlefield. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit ignores the depreciation effect of the currently active Doctrina Imperative. He also has a Servo Skull Uplink Aura. Skitarii core unit within 6 inches of this model. Each time and that unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1, and he has a 5+ invul save as well. Now for your troop choices, We have Skitarii Rangers or Skitarii Vanguard. Depending on what you want to run, most people tend to lean towards Vanguards, mainly because of their radium carbines. Each time an attack made with this weapon against an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. So that alone really is giving you a much better chance to actually, damage your enemy units. And you can still give them Genseric Arquebus, Plasma Cavalier, Radium Arc Rifles as well. And they have enhanced data tether, Omnispec, so they pretty much have the exact same loadouts. You can give them as the Rangers, however, we feel that their weapons are a little bit better. They also have Rad Saturation, so while an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, is within engagement in this unit, subtract 1 from the strength and toughness characteristics of the models in that enemy unit. So even if they get charged, they can survive a little bit longer as well in combat. And then you have your main attractions, your Cataphrone Breachers and your Cataphrone Destroyers. Due to the changes in the new book, the Breachers have actually kind of come out on top. Before, it was really kind of a toss-up depending on what kind of weapons you wanted it. However, with the Breachers now having a 2+ save instead of a 3+ save, I feel like that the Breachers are a better choice. They also have a 6+ symbol save. But really it's the heavy arc rifles that are the favorite. Basically they're a really good all-around weapon, 36-inch range, heavy 2, strength 6, -2 AP, 2 damage, but against vehicles it has a damage characteristics of 3+, damage characteristics of 3, and unmodified wound rolls of 4+ successfully wound the target. So you can really punch through some vehicles as well, as it'll take care of Primaris Marines. And if you really want to punch, you can go to the Torsion Cannon. Basically it's their equivalent of a las cannon, 40-inch range, heavy 1, strength 8, -4, D3 +3 damage. And then they're actually pretty decent in close combat as well with the Arc Claw. +1 to their strength, -3 AP, 1 damage. But again, against vehicles, you're getting an extra attack with this weapon. And for vehicles, its damage characteristics of 2 and unmodified wound rolls of 4+ successfully wound the target. Now moving on to elites. So the Cybernetic Datasmith is going to be with the Castellan robots. He's going to be able to change their basically the battlefield orders. Also, he's within 3 inches of the Castellan robots. He's going to make them core keywords, so that's really helpful if you want to stick a Dominus or somebody else next to them. He's really good there for really buffing up the robots. And you can take the robots on their own, but it's really advised to have a Datasmith along with them. Also, he does have Master of Machines, so those robots are regaining up to D3 lost wounds. Only 1 model can be repaired per turn though. So second we have Sicarian Infiltrators. These guys are really good to sneak around lines. Basically you can deep strike them in with their infiltrating positions ability. During the deployment, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield as more as 9 inches away. So really right off the bat you can already harass your enemy from turn 1. They have a 5+ invul save. They have 2 wounds. They also have neurostatic interference, and each time an attack is made against this unit, if the attack model is within 12 inches, the hit roll cannot be rerolled, and the wound roll cannot be rerolled as well. That makes them survive just a little bit longer. Now you have a couple choices in weapons. You have either the Flechette Blaster or the Stub Carbine, and then you can equip them with Power Swords or the Taser Goad. Now they're very similar. Personally, I would choose the Flechette Blaster. It's a 12-inch range, pistol 5, strength 3 weapon. And then I would go with the Taser Goads as well. It's a +2 to your strength, so it would be strength 6, -1 AP, 1 damage. But each time an attack is made with this weapon, an unmodified hit roll 6 scores 2 additional hits. Now for fast attack, the mechanic has added these Cerberus Riders or the Cerberus Sulfur Hounds. These units are pretty quick, and they could be kitted out in very different ways. So these would be run with the Skitarii Marshal as well, and in the main Skitarii force, if that's what you're going to go. They also added some unique jump troops, if you will, with the Petarax Sterilizers and the Petarax Skystalkers. And then you also have your standard Iron Strider or the Sidonian Dragoons. The Dragoons are actually pretty tough. You know, they're only 10-inch movement, but they got 6 wounds, 3+ save, 6+ invul save. Basically, they're going to have really good melee weapons. So if you really want to charge in and also tie up your enemy, potentially if you get enough of them charging in one unit, then it puts your opponent on the back foot. Now they have to deal with them instead. Now for heavy slots, you really only have 3 choices. You have your original Onager Dunecrawler. This thing can be kitted out in a very myriad different ways. Lots of different weapons depending on what role you want it to fill. The Scorpius Disintegrator is the new tank that they came out with. But probably the favorites is the Castellan Robots. These things will pump out a lot of firepower. And if you kit them out with the Phosphorus Blasters, you can put it in the hands and then a heavy one as well. They're pumping out 9 shots apiece. So if you have a squad of 4 of them with the Data Smith, they're going to be hitting really hard. Now they're only weapon skill 4, but there's some ways to get around that. But 3+ save, and then basically they start in the Aegis Protocol. Models unit have a save characteristics of 2+. They also have the Repulsor Grid. So models in this unit have a 5+ invulnerable save against ranged attacks. And each time an unmodified saving roll of 6, the attacking model unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And again, with the Data Smith next to him, he makes them core, so you can really do some synergies with your Warlord traits and aura abilities from your HQ units. So some stratagems that the Mechanicus have. One of them is the Data Blessed Auto Sermon. So with this one, you basically have a Tech Priest. Any models within 6 inches of that Tech Priest, until the start of the next command phase, that unit counts that canonical as being active for your army in addition to the current active one. You can basically buff a unit and give them 2 canonicals for that turn. Also, the Tech Adept, basically, if it's in your command phase, model can use its Machine Focus or Awaken the Machine ability 1 additional time. And if it's in your movement phase, then model can use its Master Machine ability 1 additional time that phase. So it's really good for buffing your vehicles, or healing them up if they're really damaged. Another one that's really good if you're in a pinch or you just want to take out some of your enemies along with you is Machine Spirit's Revenge. Use this stratagem in any phase when an Adeptus Mechanicus vehicle in your army is destroyed. Do not roll to see if that model explodes. It does so automatically. So another decent one is Info Slave Skull. This is good for, it's kind of like Auspex. So if somebody's reinforcing, deep striking against your units, a core unit, you can select this and basically they can shoot as if it was your shooting phase. So this would be really good if somebody thinks they're going to be cheeky and try to deep strike and charge a Castellan Robots, and you can DAC them to death as long as they're within 12 inches. Holy Orders, this is something new that they've added. Basically you can pick a Tech Priest and you can assign them to a Holy Order, and then basically it starts with an initial part. Depending on what you pick, Generators, Logi, Magi, or Artisans, and it can buff different units, mostly favoring the Cataphron Servitors, but then at the beginning of your command phase you can actually switch it to an advanced part, and then it'll do an additional ability for the rest of that turn until you switch it back. So Mechanicus has a bunch of different playstyles now. They used to be just very much so foot slogging, lots of range, didn't want to get in close combat, but now they have a bunch of different play styles. They got transports, they have fast vehicles, they have fast attack, with the Cerberus Hounds or the Petalax, Yeah, so they can get across the board if they need to. They also have some pretty decent melee options. And you can choose a custom Forge World as well that actually highlights and benefits your melee prowess. So it's not so much the case where you just have to sit back and hope you kill enough of your enemy before they get to you. You can actually play a bunch of different styles, which is really what this book emphasizes. There's a lot of synergies and a lot of different stratagems, warlord traits, forge worlds, and holy orders. Well, I hope you enjoyed this quick tactics and overview of Mechanicus. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please leave a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this, or the battle reports that we do, please hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate you joining our crusade and our community here. And as always, happy gaming.